Hello, hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm Shreya Kunam, and I am here with HOSA. And on behalf of HOSA, we are so excited to welcome back the American Board for Certification in Orthotics, Prosthetics, and Pedorthics, a HOSA partner over the last few years. Prosthetics, orthotics, and pedorthics is a fast-growing, exciting, and challenging healthcare career field. And we are so excited to have ABC and the What is Pop team here with us today to discuss the many different career paths that you can explore. In fact, the US News and World Report ranked orthotics and prosthetics as the 16th best job in the country and the second best in healthcare. They have assembled a great panel here for us tonight with professionals who are eager to tell you all about this incredible career field and answer your questions. Now, I'd like to hand it over to Megan Matovich, the Director of Marketing at the American Board of Certification in Orthotics, Prosthetics, and Pedorthics.
Thanks, Shreya, and good evening, everyone. I'm Megan Matovich, as Shreya mentioned, and I am with the American Board for Certification in Orthotics, Prosthetics, and Pedorthics, or ABC for short. And I'm so excited to be joined by some great panelists tonight that are here to talk to you about what it means to work in prosthetics, orthotics, and pedorthics, also known as POP. Before we meet our panelists, I just wanted to share some background information on POP. So people who work with prosthetic, orthotic, and pedorthic devices, or POP professionals, help people move and live better. POP professionals design, build, and even custom fit braces or artificial limbs and footwear to help people born with mobility challenges and those recovering from different diseases or injuries. There are a variety of different career paths in POP that combine healthcare, engineering, therapy, and lots more. And you're going to hear from several POP professionals tonight who are eager to share more about their personal journeys and how they discovered POP and why they pursued a career in the POP profession. So you'll have a chance to ask them questions toward the end of the webinar, and to submit those questions, please use the Q&A feature. And let's go ahead and kick off our conversation with a brief video that's going to highlight the world of POP. Okay, great. Well, now that you guys have a better idea about what POP is, let's go ahead and introduce our panelists. So today's panelists are Megan Davies, Sydney Ezel, Jordan Kokos, and Allison Bressler. And all of them are current What is POP ambassadors and at different points in their POP careers. We'll hear from each panelist about their personal journey before bringing everyone back together for the discussion. So to kick things off, let's go ahead and start with a fellow Megan, Megan Davies. Megan actually worked for several years as a technician in a POP lab, and she's now a certified prosthetist orthotist in Oregon. So Megan, thanks for being here.
Hi.
So first question, you've known about POP from an early age, I understand. And so can you explain what inspired you to join the profession?
Yeah, so when I was in the fourth grade, I ended up getting an infection in my leg. Went all the way from my toes to my hip, and to the point that I could have lost my leg. Thankfully, I didn't. I still have it here, but at that point, I did get to learn what amputation meant, and I got to learn kind of what prosthetics were in a brief overview. Um, with being grateful that I did get to keep my leg, it did spark an interest. And when I got into high school, I was really into math and science and learning how to make things and build things. But I really wanted to be able to help people, but I didn't like Um, I didn't like bodily functions. So I didn't want to be a doctor, but I wanted to be able to help others, but also build and make things. And right where our health hallway and our engineering hallway met, there was a wonderful poster about prosthetics and orthotics. And so I got involved in HOSA actually in high school as a way to
Nice.
kind of learn more about health professions, but I was always set on doing orthotics and prosthetics.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thanks. So can you talk a little bit about your first job in pop and as a technician and what all that entailed?
Yeah, so knowing that I wanted to do this, I kind of when I went into school, I went to A&M, and there was a OMP facility a few minutes from campus. And I decided again after seeing another prosthetics and orthotic presentation freshman year, that sophomore year, I was going to find any way to be involved. So I contacted the local clinic, and they said they didn't have any shadowing spots, but they did have room in their lab to have someone help out. So I said, sure, I'll take it. And every Friday for the next 3 years, that's where I found myself
Wow.
making pads for braces, finishing braces. I even did a animal OMP project there with their
Awesome.
clinicians.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool. All right. So what has it been like now practicing as a clinician and working with families? Because I understand you work with a lot of families and pediatrics.
Pediatrics are my pride and joy. Um, I have a special place in there for all my babies, and most of my coworkers know I just get this little squeal whenever I see my babies, and it's such a great experience because these families, it's a big scary world to learn about prosthetics and orthotics
Yeah,
and
sure.
feel like something you did something wrong as a parent. And a lot of it is just holding their hand, making sure that they know this big scary world isn't that big and scary, and kind of giving them the resources and everything to go about it. And then they're just so cute and they grow so fast, and it just melts my heart.
That's awesome. I'm sure it's probably challenging too, just with them constantly growing and having to have new devices.
Yeah, so there's a lot of problem solving and trying to make, because especially like when kiddos, when you first get them, like some of my youngest kiddos have been 9 months old, they
Well, yeah.
grow so fast there. They grow like weeds. And trying to make a leg last longer than 2 to 3 months is
Hmm.
it's crazy and it's a really big challenge, but I love it because it's that problem solving, that thinking on your toes, trying to invent new things and just trying to figure out what's going to be the best and how do you prepare yourself for the future.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's like every day is something different, I'm sure.
Yes.
Well, thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
So we're going to move on to our next panelist, and that is Sydney Ezel, who works as a certified prosthetist orthotist in Texas, and she has a passion for working with military veterans. So,
Hello.
Sydney, thanks for joining us. We're so glad you're here, and you do have a really incredible story. And so, can you tell us how did you find pop, and what are you doing now?
All right. So, how I came into this career, like a lot of my friends and people in this career, I thought I was going to do physical therapy. I knew I wanted to be in healthcare. I thought I would do physical therapy because I had done physical therapy in high school. So, that was my path. But when I was a junior in college, my mom ended up losing her leg. She was an above the knee amputee. So, I went through her therapy and her rehab with her, and I saw her relationship with her prosthetist, and I just looked and I was like, ooh, that seems more of my style, my speed. I just like the relationship that they built and knowing that it's a long relationship. It's not going to be short sessions or just a couple of months. It was really long, and I just really enjoyed their relationship they had built, and seeing her go from not walking to walking with this person is just amazing.
Awesome. So why is working with veterans so important to you? Because I know that's one of your passions.
Also stemming from my mom. She was in the Air Force and the Air National Guard. She served 23 years, and
Wow.
just seeing her commitment. and all of the people around her, just being in that environment all the time. I knew that was just a population I wanted to work with. They sacrificed a lot. And I got to do an internship at the CFI, the Center for Intrepid in Texas. And yeah, it was just, I really enjoyed working with veterans and wanted to help them get back to feeling normal and doing things and making sure they knew that they could reintegrate and have a full life.
Yeah, I mean, coming back by itself is a challenge for a lot of people, a lot of veterans. So having that extra difficulty with having lost a limb is, I can't even imagine. And I believe you have some photos that we're going to share of your favorite patient memories and projects. And
Yes.
maybe you can tell us a little more about what we're seeing. Oh, there we go. So if you want to talk a little bit about what's happening in these.
Yeah. So the two, I guess the one with me and the one next to it on the left, I guess, of my side. I did a trip to Ecuador, my first after my first year of OMP school.
Hmm.
So I was there for about 6 weeks, and this was one of my patients. She was 14 at the time, and she had lost all four of her limbs. She was born without all four of her limbs. And she, at the beginning, she was just so quiet and reserved, and she's never been able to do things very independent. And
Hmm.
coming this time, and her feet were so small. She had always been in like baby feet, and her goal was to have bigger feet so that she would be like her peers and be able to feed herself. So on this trip, we were able to make that happen for her. And by the end, she was able to feed herself. She couldn't cut anything, but she was able to feed herself. And the joy on her face, her mom and her dad were crying because they had been doing everything for her. So that was just
Yeah.
amazing being able to be there for that. That's nothing I imagined I would be able to do. So that was awesome. And then over on the right, the one that has the video is one of my recent patients. She suffered a spinal cord injury about 3 years ago, and she's been in a
Oh, wow.
wheelchair the whole time. And this was our first day getting her up and walking. She's the most determined person I've ever met in my life. And this is just a new device that is for spinal cord injuries. And this is my first one I got to do, and she couldn't have been a better patient to try it on because the determination. I still get texts from her like, "This is how far I'm walking," and if she didn't have
That's
to take it off,
awesome.
she would never take it off.
Yeah, and is this a fairly new technology as well? I mean, I know
Yeah.
things are constantly changing, so amazing what, just 5 years difference can make.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's very new. This company that provided this device is about a year old, I want to say, and
Mhm.
we're one of the few companies that work with them. So there's not very
That's
many.
awesome. That's so cool that you get to be there for all these like first moments, people like, getting back to their lives. So very cool. Well, thank you, Sydney, for sharing all of that with us.
Thank you.
We're going to move over to Jordan Cocos. And he actually just wrapped up his residency requirements earlier this year and is now working at the University of Rochester as a certified orthotist and board eligible prosthetist. So, first off, congratulations, Jordan, on finishing your
Thank you.
residencies. And how does that feel? How are you doing now?
It feels amazing to be done with residency. I feel well prepared. In our field, we do 2 years of residency, 1 year in orthotics and 1 year in prosthetics. So, what I'm up to now is I'm preparing for my board exam in prosthetics. I have one more exam before I'm a certified prosthetist. And I've just jumped into full-time clinical work. So, I see patients every day. I'm evaluating them. I'm building prostheses. I'm building orthoses. And I'm really just getting to walk with people every day.
They're getting right in there. All right. That's awesome. So, how do you apply your engineering and creative thinking to working in pop?
So I always say that I'm an engineer at heart, even though I'm now in the health profession. And it's just amazing because every day somebody comes into my office and they are a person. They have people problems. They are maybe missing a limb or maybe they have some weakness in their ankle. And I get to really come alongside them and work with them on a personal level to first understand what is their problem. Every person is different, and what do they want to get back to doing. And then that's when my engineering brain gets to turn on. After I evaluate the patient, and I might take my scan of their limb, or I might take a cast of their limb, I then get to start to design. I work with physics, designing the systems for correction, or I might work with material sciences, deciding, do I want to use carbon fiber for this patient, or do I want to use a plastic? And I get to design and build these devices to help them get back to doing what they love. So every day is a new problem walking in the door, and it's amazing to get to use my hands and my engineering skills to provide them with a solution.
Great. Yeah, I hear that a lot, that it's really interesting to be able to do the hands-on skills and the patient care all in one job. So it sounds like that's definitely a plus for you. So another question for you. You've connected with young people as a pop ambassador for us. So thank you again for being an ambassador. And quite a bit over these past few years, you've done a lot of pop ambassador work. What's one thing you hope interested students understand about pop?
I think this plays really well into what we were just talking about, working with your hands, getting to design and build. If you love science and you also love art and you just have
Mhm.
this burning passion for helping people, then prosthetics and orthotics is the field for you. I see so many people with similar stories to Sydney where they thought that maybe physical therapy was for them, but so many physical therapy students come through and see what we do and see that we get to build things and work with our hands. And I hear all the time, if I would have known that this existed, that would have been the path that I would have taken. So if you love, again, engineering, working with your hands, getting to build things, and also just walking with people through their day-to-day struggles, through their day-to-day life, this is the field for you. You found it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a lot of the reason why we're doing this What is Pop, and letting students know at an earlier age what this career is all about, because we hear that a lot, that people stumble upon it later. So we want to get to them early and let them know that it's a great profession to get into. So thank you, Jordan, for sharing all of that with us.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we are moving on to our next panelist, our last panelist, last but not least, um,
Yep.
Allison Bressler. She is a certified prosthetist orthotist, or was, I don't, are you still continuing you're still a CPO, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So you worked for 27 years in the profession as a CPO in clinical, and now you've jumped over to be an instructor at Drexel University. Do you talk a little bit about, how you found POP, kind of like the other panelists did, and what it's like to educate the next generation of POP professionals?
So I feel I was listening to all their stories, and I feel like there are definite similarities just along the way. But when I was in college, I volunteered for the Ronald McDonald Camp for Children with Cancer a couple of summers, and several of my campers were above the knee amputees. So that kind of led me. I also came from an engineering background into thinking about, well, I don't want to design, let's say, internal hip implants or implants. I would rather deal with patients. And that kind of informed the rest of the decisions along the way. I love pediatrics as well. I think that the opportunity to really follow people, have children that I started in early intervention who I saw until they graduated out at 21, 22, 23. So being able to really follow people for such a long period of time, as Sydney even was talking about, it's not a temporary relationship. You really get to build relationships with patients all the way through, and that's a super special experience. And now I feel like I have the best of all worlds. I just happened upon seeing the advertisement for education. I've always been drawn to it. And I think the opportunity, or really the honor, to teach those where the future of the profession is going, and even how much I've seen it change over the last 25 to 30 years, is remarkable. So to be able to be part of it from the other end is equally rewarding and amazing.
Yeah, and some of the individuals on this webinar tonight might be your students coming
I
up.
know. Wouldn't that be so fun? I know. Come.
They'd be like,
Yeah,
"Hey, I saw you on this
I
webinar at
know.
HOSA, and now you're my instructor." Um,
Fantastic.
Very cool. All right, so what motivated you? I know you said you found an ad and you're honored to go into the teaching, but what motivated you to do a pivot from clinical practice into education?
Well, I will get to my volunteer work that I do also, but
Yes.
I think it was really, I have always been drawn to mentoring and to teaching and tutoring, etc. I was the director of education at our company. So I think all of that just kind of made me think maybe this would be a great thing to do. And it's so funny how many of my friends and family were like, "You were totally made for this. Like this is so you." So it just all happened to be really lucky. There are not that many schools across the
Mhm.
United States, so I have the opportunity to still be not forced to move, but be able to work at Drexel, which is great.
Yeah, it sounds like it was the perfect fit for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. So now moving on to your pride, your mission trips to El Salvador. You want to tell us a little more about that?
hmm Yeah, so I have been really lucky to, ever since 2018, go with Small Steps Mission, which is also part of Healing the Children in Philadelphia, to El Salvador on a podiatry mission, actually. So it's just myself and one other orthotist who go and see about 200 kids in the span of
Wow.
a week.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I know, and about 40 of them are chosen for podiatric surgeries. So whether it be
Okay.
clubfoot, certainly some things that might have been addressed when they were younger in the United States, but because of being a third world country, maybe have been let go over some period of time. And we go with donations and learn to, and use our own engineering backpedaling of retrofitting these orthotics and usually providing, new socks, either gently used or donated shoes to each
Hmm.
of the patients. And it's super special week. I wouldn't miss it. It's amazing.
I love this video that we're showing of the little boy
Ah,
with the huge smile and
he's a
high-fiving.
doll. He's a total
Yeah.
doll. Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is one, and all the
Because
kids
he's
in the
walking.
pictures are just
Mhm.
beaming. I'm sure that this
Yeah.
is just so amazing for them.
It is. It is. Yeah. So he's walking faster than he certainly has ever walked before because he's not, having to think about, putting one foot in front of the other. And yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Was there anything else that you wanted to add to that before we move
no,
into our group discussion?
yeah, I think everyone else has really hit the nail on the head. It's a passion for really making a difference and the ability to challenge yourself in so much as no two patients are the same. So it really um, gets to allow you the opportunity to hone in on what exactly is going to make your patient better and function more in a better fashion. So
Yeah. And I can imagine it's not boring whenever things are different every day and new challenges every day. So keeps it interesting.
definitely.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all for sharing your stories. And so now we've heard from everybody. We're going to bring everybody back together for a panel discussion. And we'll answer audience questions in a minute. And be sure you're putting them in the Q&A box feature somewhere on the screen. There's a little Q&A um, button that you can hit, and you can put your questions in there. So we'll be sure to answer those in a minute. I do have a couple of questions, though, before we get into audience questions that I'd like to pose to the panel. So first up is how would you advise others to discover their passion for pop? So how would you get started? How would you go about trying to get into this profession? Megan, you want to go first?
Yeah. I would Google, kind of like I did, Google whatever OMP clinic is near you and go ask if you can shadow. And that's kind of, I would say, probably the easiest way just to see what a day to day is like for an orthotist, prosthetist, put orthist. And it also gives you different avenues of maybe if you don't want to always go all the way to pursuing a master's and you want to find different avenues into this field, it's a great way to
Hmm.
see that.
Yeah, there's lots of different career paths. So, we have different certifications that you can do and different levels of education that are required. And yes, there's something for everyone, for sure.
And what's great is we had to Google it to find it, and that's a great way to find a clinic in your area. But you also have all of the whatispop.org resources available to you. I would highly suggest checking that out. There's a ton of ambassadors like us across the United States, maybe one in your area that you can talk to just to get more of an idea of what's going on, as well as guides
Hmm.
about shadowing and what clinic shadowing is like, so that you can really get plugged in and ready to start in a clinic in your area.
Yeah, that's perfect. That moves me right into the next question, which was all about shadowing. And so what would your advice be for shadowing, aside from the guide? So let's say they don't go to the guide. What do you think are some of the key points about doing shadowing? Like approaching it, like how would you go about it? And what kinds of questions should you ask? That kind of thing. Anybody want to take a stab at that?
Some of the advice I like to give is if you can shadow more than one place or more than one person, I
Hmm.
definitely would do that because we all practice differently. We may all get to the same type of device, but we all do things very differently. Um,
Yeah,
and
that's a great point, Sydney. Because you have practices that concentrate more in pediatrics or veteran populations or geriatrics. You've got some clinics that are heavily concentrated on prosthetics more than they are orthotics, and vice versa. So that's a really good point if you want to kind of get different perspectives, different size places. There's lots to see. So doing, shadowing at different places is a great idea.
yeah, and even different settings because there's
Hmm.
outpatient settings and inpatient settings. So sometimes you can figure out if you want to, which pace you want to be in.
Yeah. Your panelists are all nodding. They all agree. Okay, so this is for everybody, anybody that wants to jump in. What was your major in college, and how did it prepare you for a career? And I think some people kind of mentioned that they started in certain areas, but who wants to go?
I'll go for it. I
Okay.
was biomedical science. I chose the hardest path. Um, so I was pre-med basically at A&M and yeah, it just I chose what was going to hit my prerequisites and then some.
Okay. What else? What other
I,
college majors did we have?
I did a mechanical engineering undergrad and biomedical master's, and then I still had to take psychology because I had not nailed that prerequisite.
Mhm. And you need it. I'm telling you, like patient minds, that's important.
Yeah.
I also started off in mechanical engineering, and we talk a lot about prerequisites, and that's an important thing to think about as you're choosing whatever pathway you want to take into college. Most
Hmm.
O&P programs, if you look on their website, have a list of classes that they require you to take. I
Yeah.
highly encourage you to plan that into your college career because I decided I wanted to do it pretty late. Went through mechanical engineering and had to take a lot of health courses on the back end of it, and it was very difficult.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. It does help obviously to go back and get those health courses, those ones that are required, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't, be in a business track and at some point pivot to go to something else. So if you find yourself, remembering this webinar as you've already started down another path and you're like, you know what? You can still do it. So I know that there have definitely been other undergraduate majors that are outside of engineering and biomedical science that people are still able to get into the profession. So,
Yeah,
all
several of
right.
my students have done exercise science was one of the majors that several, oh, and Sydney too.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another popular major.
Okay, great. All right. So, what did you think you were going to do before you discovered pop? So I think some people kind of maybe mentioned that a little bit, but what was like, oh, this is what I'm going to be when I grow up?
When I was still in engineering, I was doing a lot of water projects, and I thought it was kind of a branching pathways into either doing humanitarian engineering with doing water projects in other countries or doing
Hmm.
prosthetics and orthotics. And what
And this
really
one out.
Yes, and what really wanted out was you can make large impacts with water projects in areas, but there's just nothing that gives me fulfillment like walking with someone in their day-to-day life and developing that relationship with people on a one-on-one level.
Yeah,
So,
cool. Love it. Anybody else want to go? Any other, this is what I wanted to be when I grow up stories? You guys were kind of like sort of in a general path toward this area. So that's kind of cool. But I've definitely heard stories from other people that were in something and totally changed their mind, either after something happened to a friend or a family member, or they just discovered that it was an opportunity and that they had not known about it before. So, okay, great. So, what kinds of high school or college opportunities first sparked your passion for pop? Megan already kind of brought this up when she was in her hallways and saw the poster, and it all kind of converged together. Anybody else have opportunities that presented that really sparked your passion for getting in this profession?
Well, mine was
Allison?
really um, kind of was my major experience that I decided I wanted to go towards this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Very good. All right. My next question is, what does a usual work day look like for you? Which we've heard already, there is no usual day, but if you were to sort of put it together, your average day coming in, could you tell us what that looks like? Sydney, you want to do this one?
Sure. Well, for me, it's a little bit different now. I'm a clinic manager and now I have a resident. So
Nice.
normally yeah, I have two residents actually. So lots of signing notes and teaching, which is nice. That's new for me. I get to teach. And like Allison said, it's actually the most rewarding thing outside of seeing patients. But on a normal day, um, do about 4 to 8, let me say, patient appointments.
Hmm.
Sometimes with my resident, I'm learning to step back so my resident can do more,
Hmm.
just because they need the experience and the learning. And it
Sure.
also helps me know what they need to know. And then I do anything from evaluations to adjustments to fittings, and lots of notes.
Cool. Yeah, it's good. Like, even though you start in one area and that's your normal day, like you said, now you're a clinical manager and you've got residents, so now your average day kind of shifted a little bit and you've got different roles and responsibilities. So it's cool to I can take one more from you guys. Anybody else have a day in the life they want to share?
So my role or my new role is more unique. I am mobile. So I have a lab in the back of a giant orange van, and I drive out to skilled nursing facilities, inpatient rehab, doctors' offices, and I see patients with their PTs in those facilities. So I'm casting them alongside their doctor at their clearance appointment. I'm putting shrinkers on them. I'm I'm kind of flexible and I see between 4 to 10 patients a day, depending on how far apart they are.
Wow. And that's really, talk about collaborating with all the other healthcare team members, right? You're
Hmm.
you're like in it with all of them. That's cool.
Yes.
Very cool. Okay, so I've been told we have lots of questions from the audience, so we're going to move over to that. Um, let's see. First audience question. I think they're trying to pull one up for me. Okay. So you guys talked a lot about shadowing, but students are wanting to know what is shadowing. We kind of talked a little bit about it. How does it work and how do you coordinate it? And I know Jordan already talked about that we have this amazing guide, but if you guys want to talk a little bit more about what it is, how it works, and how you go about doing it. Jordan, you want to take that?
Absolutely. So shadowing is the first step into entering into any field because it requires zero experience to do it. So what you do when you're shadowing someone is you go into the clinic appointments and you kind of stand off to the side and you just learn from the clinician. So they're doing their evaluations, they're doing lots of procedures and things, and then you're able to then, when you're out of the room from the patient, ask that clinician questions. Why did you do this? What was this question that you asked? Could you have done this? And you get to build up your experience like that. So it's a way to start off with absolutely no experience and gain real clinical insights into what a day is like with us.
You actually need shadowing hours in order to get into school. So if you're gonna
That's a
do it, I would
great
start
point,
early.
Sydney. Great point. Great point.
And the shadowing hours, if I remember correctly, they don't have to just be seeing patients. You can also observe in a lab as well
Mhm.
and just see how things are made. Like that'll show how it's made.
Yeah,
It's a great.
yeah. And Allison, is that the case for Drexel as well? You guys have shadowing hours that are required.
Yeah, every school has shadowing hours that are required.
Yeah. Okay, great. So Hoda asks, what would you all recommend for a high school student to do who wants to get in pop? I guess aside from the shadowing, you want to talk a little bit more about um, other things that they could explore before they decide to get into pop?
I'm happy to jump in here as well. So I think a really great way to get involved is get involved with the adaptive sports communities in your area. So there's in every city I've ever been in, there's a community of people who work with people with disabilities to get them to participate in activities such as rock climbing, maybe skiing. I know there's a really large surfing community for people with disabilities in the US. So
Hmm.
finding these organizations, which you can always reach out to the pop ambassadors on the website and get connected with things in your area. They may know some of these organizations. Is a really great way to get some hands-on experience working with people with disabilities really early on in your career. Not only does that bolster your applications for undergraduate and graduate programs, but it really just gives you hands-on experience working with people, and it's a huge benefit to not be absolutely terrified the first time you're working with a patient. So
Right. No, that's a great point. The adaptive sports is really good. I've heard that from a lot of people that they started doing adaptive sports. And I know Allison, you were a Special Olympics coach for a while. Is that correct?
Yeah, I actually still am, but yes,
Okay, there you
I
go. That's
am.
awesome.
Yes, and actually, the I got involved with this team because one of my patients, when he was 8 years old, he was a patient of mine, and then I was working with a physical therapist. Fast forward 10 years, and walked into her office and said, "Why do you have a picture of Kevin in your office?" And she said, "Kevin's my brother." So then
Oh,
I actually was coaching my daughter's travel soccer team and hooked up my travel soccer team with the Special Olympics team and paired them up for many activities and involvement. And then I've just been involved with the Special Olympics team also ever since my daughter graduated and I don't have a different team to coach. So,
yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome. Really, really cool.
yeah.
Okay. So, this one I think I'm going to start with Megan because you had a lot to say about the healthcare teams with your mobile work now. So, how do POP professionals typically collaborate with other healthcare professionals?
So yeah, I work closely with orthopedic surgeons, vascular surgeons, a few neurosurgeons, and then especially the physical therapists and occupational therapists. So whenever we have new referrals for some of our patients, especially for like amputees, we get a call from the surgeon that says, "Hey, our patient is having an amputation." Usually, if we get a heads up, we go do some pre-prosthetic education with them, and we talk to them about what is prosthetics, what is a leg, what is a liner, what are all these wonderful things that we're going to say nonchalantly to you over and over again, and you're going to look at me like, what's the difference between a sock and a shrinker? And these are all prosthetic terms, and I can go into detail for them, but they basically are all parts to a prosthesis, and every step is a different part that you do. So we start with pre-prosthetic education and making sure that the doctors are making their notes acceptable by insurance so that these our patients can get the best care that they need and the best options for them. And then after that, we see them right after amputation. We go visit them in their hospital room. Sometimes I pull up a chair and just sit and talk. Sometimes I'm just a shoulder to cry on. Sometimes it's again more conversations about how can my leg look cool and can I bedazzle it? And everybody fixates on certain things with mentioning earlier the psychology course. It's a very important one in this field. So that's mostly with the surgical team. And then at all of the inpatient facilities and skilled nursing facilities and physical therapy offices, I go there and I either make the devices with the therapists. So we're working hands in hand to make sure whatever deficit our patient has, say their knee's a little weak and we want to make sure it doesn't buckle on them when they're walking, we create a plan and a treatment together to give this patient the best outcome for legs, for orthotics, which are braces for the outside of the body. So we kind of work with that. And I do it from pediatrics to geriatrics, which is a really big spread and different types of therapists.
Yeah, cool. Anybody else want to chime in about working with other healthcare professionals and collaborating?
Yeah, I work in kind of a unique setting that I work for a hospital system. So we're just one very small part of the inner workings that is the entire hospital in Rochester.
Hmm.
And that's very amazing because I get to work alongside doctors and physical therapists to make sure that our care is the full package. So I will
Hmm.
be working tomorrow with a physician where we evaluate new amputees and get them started on their prosthetic journey. And then I will also go with those people to their physical therapy appointments and make real changes to their prosthesis as they're learning to use it. So it's multifaceted. We are providing them with the device, but we're also the ones that are making changes to that device to have real impacts on their walking, their skin health. People can
Hmm.
develop adverse skin conditions or skin breakdown, and we need to be able to work alongside doctors and use our engineering knowledge to make changes to the prosthesis to minimize those things. So it really is completely a multifaceted care area.
Yeah, awesome. And I was just told that Megan, you had some photos I think that you shared with us before, and I think they're going to pop those up on the screen. If you want to talk a little bit about those, these are some of your patients.
Yeah, so on the left, we call him Mr. Zoot Suit. Not sure if you guys know what a Zoot Suit is, but this gentleman, for his prosthesis, he hadn't walked in 6 months, a year. And he was like, Megan, this is a fancy occasion. I'm gonna come dressed in my Stacey Adams and my nicest suit to be able to walk out of the office.
Oh,
So we
that's
got his
awesome.
leg on him and he took a picture with us. He looked absolutely amazing.
I mean,
And
that's a big
then,
deal. 6 months to a year not being able to walk. Yeah, I
yeah,
can see why he wanted to dress up.
and he was the cutest thing. And he cried, and it was great. And we all
Oh.
cried. It was wonderful. In the middle, these are two of my babies, and I miss them a lot. They both of our girls, they were born with orthopedic disorders. One of them was born with two hips and two femurs, but nothing below the knee. And then
Mhm.
one of our other little girls, she was born with a club foot deformity, which is basically where the foot kind of turns upwards. And it was turned in on itself to the point that she needed her amputation above the knee to have the most function. Um, One of them came to me first, and I made her leg. And then when I was working on making her second leg, our other little girl, she came in, and her parents were talking about how it was a hard process for them to wrap their head around this. And because their daughter didn't look like anybody else, they didn't have any reference, they didn't know
Mhm.
anything. And so I was like, haha, I have an idea. Um, they're both the same age. They both have their amputation on the same side. Both families come from similar backgrounds. So what I did was I set their appointments up back to back one day, and then I just ran late. So then my patients ended up meeting in the waiting room, which is what you see the picture here.
Mhm.
And they absolutely loved it. And moms
That's so cool.
requested the rest of their appointments were always together. So we have this big block where they would get to play and I get to work on their legs at the same time.
That's
And then
awesome.
our third
That
one, oops, sorry.
No, 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 go ahead. You're good.
My third one is a little kiddo that he was born without a forearm, basically. So no hand, no
Mhm.
wrist. His arm was about right here. And mom just wanted him, one, it was very important in their culture to look more similar. So they wanted to be able to, put on a button down, go to church, have him look a little bit more similar, look like his friends, look like his brothers. But they also
Mhm.
wanted him to be able to play, so I made him this arm so he could play. And then the way we tried it out was we put all those building blocks up and built a tower, and then we let him destroy them. And so
I'm
it's a
sure he
fun
loved that.
experience for kiddos.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about the patients and their different devices, and I think people are probably pretty interested in how long it would take to make certain devices, a custom device. So for an orthotic device, how long does that usually take? Typical timelines. I know that's different based on how complex it is, and what steps you need to take to do that. Anybody want to jump in? And I know prosthetics is also like a longer process depending on what it is. Allison, you want to go?
Sure. We typically ran for a non-hospital, non-emergency, I would say around a week for an AFO or a plastic brace.
Can you tell us a little bit about
And
what, so an AFO is a plastic brace?
it's a plastic brace for the lower leg. So for people who've had a stroke or any kind of disorder that might cause their leg ankle complex, foot ankle complex to not work the way that it should.
Hmm.
So that would be usually typically a week. Again, as long as it wasn't some kind of rehab hospital situation, we could turn them around in a matter of a couple of days, but that would be a rush job.
Hmm.
Um, and then prosthetics, usually a week for a check socket, and then another week or two for a finished product, depending on back orders of feet, knees, whatever's needed, but something in
Hmm.
that timeline.
Okay. And as far as like patients adapting, I know it's different for every patient, so kind of have an idea of, how long it takes to create devices. Um, but how long does it usually take a patient to adapt to that, be able to use it? I have the answers in my head, but I'm gonna let y'all answer.
I'd say a couple of weeks. Prosthetically, um, for all devices, actually, orthotics and prosthetic, there's a wearing period to where you slowly wear it to get used to it. So your skin gets used to it, so you get used to it. And so you slowly work to wear it more and more each day until it's just your new norm to get up in the morning, put it on, go do about your day, do whatever you need to do, come home,
Mhm.
take it off. Um,
It's
but I
like
would say
breaking in a new pair of shoes, right?
exactly, exactly. That's what I tell them. And even when they get a new device, let's say somebody's been in a leg for 2 or 3 years, when they get a new one, there's always a break-in period. Nothing feels the same.
Hmm.
And sometimes that's the hardest part for patients is realizing, yes, you're getting something new, but it is new. So it's not going to feel like the old one. It will feel different no matter what we do. So I'd say a
Yeah.
couple weeks at least.
But it's cool too, though. I know, like, as soon as, like, Megan was showing the one patient, the Zoot Suit guy, he was able to at least use it and walk for the first time from that visit. So while it may take some time for him to adapt, he, at least is actually getting to walk, for the first time or after his long period of not being able to. So the instantness of that is pretty darn cool. Um, So I think we had one last question, and that comes from our audience. We have a senior in high school wanting to know if it's too late to be interested in this career, or think of pursuing it, even if they've been considering nursing or another career, or physician assistant, I think is what she said.
I didn't know I wanted to do this until I was in my entering into my final semesters of college. So you're already ahead of the game just being in this room and in this chat. It's absolutely not too late. It's something you can pivot to now. It's something that you can pivot to later, especially if you're already considering the health profession. There's a lot of prerequisites that are the same, but the short answer to your question is no. This is a great time to be interested in it.
Yeah, I've had one of my classmates, he had had a whole career, had 6 children, and was about to turn 50. And that's when he started and came into this career. So I don't know that there's ever like a bad time. Any time is a good time as long as it's right for you.
Yeah,
Same.
and if you're passionate about it, do it. Awesome. Well, we're getting close to our time. I just wanted to say thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for learning about POP. Thank you so much to our amazing panelists who are doing awesome work out in the profession. And just a reminder to everybody that we are going to have a recording of the webinar available on HOSA's website. They'll let us know when that's coming out, or let you guys know when that's coming out. And again, thank you so, so much for joining us.